All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone to Chips and Grits, and thank you for joining. We have quite a few that are not here this morning. We have a very good sized delegation in Minneapolis uh, at the AAW symposium, and others that are tied up with doing other things that they've committed to. So we will get on with it, and hopefully they will be able to watch this video when it gets posted later on the website. I had the topic suggested to me this morning by one of the members that said, there are times when you get a tool that you think, boy, this is just going to be great. And then you start using it, and all of a sudden you realize, yeah, but it's a lot better if I use it this way. So the question is, do you have any tools like that you have found better use for that wasn't the one that you originally bought it for? Anybody want to start?
No, I can start since I use all tools equally poorly. Um, but this is not quite as close. A year and a half ago, when my wife was trying to find birthday present for me, I said, I'm really my old Craftsman battery operated set is old and obsolete, and I really would like uh, a this or that with it. So she found a set of 10 DeWalt tools. These are not wood turning tools necessarily. And I looked at the set of 10. I said, well, 8 of those I'd really use, but there's 2 that are just throwaways. But because of the price, we bought the set of 10. And it turns out one of them, the one of the 2 throwaways, I use for wood turning. Well, not for actually turning, but this is a little mini blower.
Well, look at that.
And I thought, I don't need a little mini blower. We've got a big blower, 56-volt big blower we use for around the house. But this is much better than using compressed air for cleaning out a bowl. When you use the compressed air, the air pressure is so high that it it clouds up the whole place. And this little thing is just about right for getting in there, cleaning out a bowl, cleaning out the tools that are around the lathe and everything else. And so I probably use this more than anything on the set of 10 tools. And it's just a little battery operated. I don't know if you can see it, but
Yeah, good showing.
it is just great. So that's my tool that I didn't buy to use but for what I use it for, but I use it all the time. It's right on the lathe when I'm turning. So that's my tool.
Thanks. I hadn't thought of that.
I have one just like that, kind of an old one, Howard, but mine is unfortunately it's still corded. But after I finish any bowls, after sand and everything else, I always take them outside with that blower, and I blow all the dust off them before I tack them and everything else before finishing. And that little blower works great for that.
Yeah.
And just one other comment on tools. Most of the tools that I use in my turning, I have made most of them. And what I've always done is I rather than buy something, if I see something I know I kind of know what I want. I've made them up, and I probably got 10, 12 tools that I use that I've made myself. So I don't normally take if something I've had, I don't try and use it for something else. I'll just make something that right for what I want.
Do you do the hardening and tempering of the steel as well?
Well, I did a little hardy that as good as I can. Well, I hadn't did for a long time, but being an old tool and die man, I used to harden stuff in the shop all the time, but we had the little furnaces there to heat things up red hot and put them in the oil. So I went out to one of the guys who was one of the original founders of the club, old Fred Martinez. He had a torch, a welding torch. So a couple of times I went out there and I had him heat things up as hot as he could get them there. And I have a can of oil there and I dip it in the oil. And it seemed to work halfway decent, and then could grind them from there.
Very good.
So that's kind of where I've been as far as tools go that way.
Did Fred make his own tools too?
Who?
Fred Martinez?
Oh, Fred used to try to do a little bit of everything. He had bought most of his stuff, but he'd make things with different things once in a while. Fred was an old farm boy. He was used to doing so. If he didn't have something, he'd try to make something up that would work for him. So I miss him. I used to go out there always on Saturdays out to his shop there. Him and Don Jordan, and once in a while one of the newer guys would come out, and we didn't do that always that much turning, but we did a lot of good talk. Have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I bought his Powermatic lathe when he moved.
Is that right? Okay.
And it looks like he had done the heating on the lathe.
He might have. I don't know.
And certainly a lot of painting.
Yeah, I never see him do that, but
It was a green Powermatic.
yeah, well, he had 3 or 4 lathes in there. He had a little mini lathe, and I used to go out once in a while and use that one. I make for making bottle stoppers and things like that. And then he had another, I forget the name. It was an English lathe of some kind. And I think he had one more yet too. I can't remember anymore now. It's been gone quite a while. I kept in touch with him for a long time after he moved out to Maryland, back to Maryland, but he finally got so he didn't even recognize me anymore when I called him. So he was close. I think I heard from somebody else that he had died. So
Well, a tool that I would mention, I bought a Badan mainly because I was making something and I wanted the sides parallel. It wasn't, well, it's kind of like, well, this isn't it, but if you were making straight sides down here, I bought a Badan thinking that would help. Later on, we did get a box cutter to use in situations like this, but this is something where the sides are parallel. We're not shaping it. So I bought a Badan for that, but most of the time I use the Badan for a lot of other reasons in place of a parting tool. Sometimes it gives a cleaner cut. So the Badan has kind of become an all-purpose shaping tool for straighter areas for me. So that's the tool that probably isn't used exactly like I intended it for, but I use it quite frequently now for other things that I want just to keep it sharp for a sharp cut. So in answer to your question, that's one I bought for a different reason, but I use it for lots of other reasons now.
Kathy, do you still have the straight edge on the Badan, or did you angle it so that it would?
It's still straight.
Okay.
I can go get it and show you, but does everyone know what a Badan is? Yeah, so no, we have it straight and we try to keep it really straight. Ken showed me how to use the engineering, whatever square thing is. Square. So that it stays pretty sharp and square for fitting in some of those areas. So that's the only tool that I have purchased for, and it ended up a different reason. So a different
We
use.
use it We use it for a lot of parting because you can part off a lot of material quickly. It's strong, so it can be, you don't have to worry about it chattering any. Just keep it sharp and straight across. And it works well for some shaping if you want. But as Kathy said, we do now have a box cutter that we use instead of the Badan for going inside straight walls inside of something.
I haven't used that yet, so.
It
Right.
might still be in the package.
Not
You
sure
know,
it's
I'm not.
been correctly yet, so.
It may not have been. Yeah, I can't. I'm not sure I have repurposed anything, but we do have a few tools that we just really have not used yet. So they're waiting.
I think that's a common trait a lot of us have. Have a lot of tools that we have acquired and just waiting for the right moment for them to
Hmm.
rise to the surface.
Well, the right tool at the right time makes your job a lot easier. So sometimes I've purchased something, or Kathy's encouraged me in some cases to purchase something, and it would have the right purpose. It would be the right tool, but we just haven't had the right project to use those on. A couple of things come to mind. One is a ring cutting tool. We just haven't had a project come up where we needed to cut rings, but we have the tool now, and it's better than the previous tool that I had that didn't work very well.
I used it, not more for practice than making something, but
Mhm.
Emily Ford taught me how to use it well. So I kind of had the ability to use it, but I'm not sure that I have had a project to work it. I think it's important to try to use the new tools in some way to see if they're sharpened the way you like it or if it'll work. And with the ring tool, there's a technique to it, and I wouldn't have really done well with it if I hadn't had somebody teach me. So sometimes it's just nice to have a mentor who can show you, because angles may be different or movements may be different than what you might expect to get that tool to work correctly. Otherwise, it's going to stay in the drawer.
When you guys are saying ring tool, is it one of the tools to cut captive rings, or is it the full circle?
Captive rings.
Captive rings. Okay. I have both. That's why I was asking. And that bowl that I brought to the breakfast, with the little silicone thing in the
Mhm.
top with the moon and sun on it. So I made that curve for the lid with the captive ring tool. I'd seen somebody else do it online, and I thought, well, I have one of those. Let me try that. So I didn't even think about it until you guys just started talking about your ring tool. I'm like, well, I guess I do have a tool that I did use for not its intended purpose. And that was just recent that I tried it, and it does work pretty neat.
So you use that as a beading tool in the case for your lidded bowl.
Correct. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And it just kind of gives it a cool feel on how it sits on top.
Mhm.
Very good. What else do people have?
Doug, is it handy to show or is it somewhere else?
Oh, no, it's right here.
Yeah, because I didn't see it.
I just like to say I never had bought a flat scraper, about 1 inch wide type thing. I had an old file, and I ground that up, and I've been using that for 20 years now,
Hmm.
and it works great. It's the files are very hard, so I mean they hold up pretty good and they're easy to sharpen and everything else. So another thing I've had, and I think Bruce may have seen, I brought in one meeting some years back. We had I forget what it was, some tools I made, whatever. But I had an old saw. It had a nice, real nice handle on it, like a pistol grip type handle. So I ground all the. I never used the thing. I never knew what kind of saw it's for. It really wasn't a wood saw. So I ground all the teeth off it, and got a red point, and it's the best parting tool you ever want to see. It's 16th wide, but it goes in like nothing.
Hmm.
Parting something off, and that's so I've been using that for many years now too.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that one, Bruce?
Yes, I do.
Remember the handle on that thing? It was so nice. That's really a nice way handle to have to use on it.
I have it here now if you want to see it.
Yes, please.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm spotlighted because I'm seeing Bruce.
You're spotlighted.
Okay, so there's the set of captive ring. Oh, hello, you're looking at my face. Oh, there we go. So I got a set of 3 of these off Amazon, and so here's the bowl, and essentially, I don't know how well it's going to show up on the camera, but there's a little detailed ring line that goes all the way around. Kind of a cool feature, but that's actually from the tool itself. Let's see, it was probably not that one. Maybe it was the bigger one. Yeah, it was the bigger one. So you can see how it fits right in there.
Okay.
And then, so then when the lid sits on it, instead of seeing just a straight line where the lid and the vessel meet, it kind of curves underneath and gives it like an undercut. And I thought it was kind of cool the way it worked. And I just seen somebody online do it. And then that was the little silicone piece I put in there.
Very nice.
Ken, you'd asked me at the breakfast how it was made. There's the silicone mold.
He's gone. I think his video went.
Oh.
It does make a nice little effect. I like that.
Yeah. Yep. Can't say it was my idea. I learned it from someone else, but I tried it and went, well, that wasn't too terribly difficult.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Hi, Dick. How's Maine? You're muted.
Jerry's joined us also.
Kind of.
Hi, Jerry.
Kind of.
The quiet brunch today.
You know, Kathy, when Bruce and I took one of the classes at community college, probably Bruce's 5th or 6th, my first class, we had an instructor who was having some problems. Brenda, I think was her name. And she told us never use a skew. It's a dangerous thing. Never use it. If you get one, throw it out. And I was hollowing something similar to what you showed, doing a straight down. And I was having trouble. And she said, go get a skew. And so I said, why? She said, well, I'm going to show you what to do. And she used a skew like you use the bidan to go straight down the side. And and I've done that, and I hadn't thought about that being a tool that I'm using for a different purpose, but I've done that a number of times where I use the skew, and if you cut a thin, not a real thick cut, a thin cut, you get a pretty decent cut doing that. It's quite sharp, and if you do real light cut, you can get a nice straight line.
Yeah, just be real careful because that's a small thing on a skew.
Yeah, you got to do it real light.
Yeah.
But at least it gives me something to use a skew for.
I hear so many people say that about the skew, but I love my skew, and I don't do a tremendous amount of spindle stuff. Usually in November when I'm making snowmen for Christmas, and then I'll pull the skew out and just, get familiar with it again. But there'll even be times where just to reduce my sanding, if I, on the outside of a lidded box or whatever. Well, that one that I just showed you, I ran a skew across that one just because you can get such a sweet slice with the skew, and probably take 2, 3, maybe 4 grits of sandpaper away because it's already that smooth. But I don't know. I don't know if I just got lucky in that when I first got into wood turning, I had no instructions at all. I bought a shop smith with whatever tools that came with it, and a skew was one of them. And so I didn't know not to like it. I just started using it incorrectly until I got some training. But
I was kind of joking a little because I do use a skew for pens.
yeah.
And I made about 75 pens a year and a half ago, and I used the skew for most of them, and it worked quite well.
Yeah.
Hey,
But
Doug, when you get
when
a
you said
chance,
that lady told you to just throw them away, I've heard that from so many other people. Like, no, I hate the skew, and I just get catches. I'm like, well, then just try a little bit more. You'll get it.
hey, Doug, when you get a chance, reverse your camera. We'd rather see
Oh,
you than your workbench.
whoops. Let me make sure my hair looks good.
Well, maybe go back.
Does
Yeah, right.
the hair look good? There we go. Get that going up there. So with the when we were talking about the ring tools, do any of you have the actual full circle ring tool?
You talk about the termite, what they call a termite?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a different brand,
Yeah,
but
I get all 3 sizes of it. Yeah, I love it.
man,
just-
I gotta get better with that. So I got one as a gift. Um, I threw it in the Amazon cart at I think Christmas time, and my mother-in-law wound up pulling it out and getting it for me. And you want to talk about using tool without proper instruction? I mean, I thought I knew what I was doing. Terrible catch, yanked it out of my hand. It's all chipped up now, so now I gotta fix it up again and try again. Like I was saying with the skew, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna figure it out. But that was a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be.
I never had any problem with that. That was if you do a lot of deep hollowing, it's
Yeah.
nothing like that termite. I'll tell you that. It's it can
Let me show you mine just to make sure we are talking about the same thing, because I'm pretty certain we are.
Doug, did you get the sharpening stone with that?
I didn't.
Yeah, there's a sharpening stone that's kind of cone shaped that you can put in the center to take care of those chips.
Yeah. When they tell you to do it, I mean, I sharpen them. I put the bit, that cone tape thing in my router,
Yeah.
out, and just put the thing over it and circle around it.
There's a Dremel thing that'll work too.
Okay.
It's kind of cone shaped.
Yep, there it is. And
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's it.
anyway, that was and of course I was doing a live demo when I did it.
Of course.
I don't know if I was doing a live Facebook or a live TikTok, but people were watching, and I told everybody right away. I said, "This is my first time using this tool. I've been told it's a very aggressive tool, and you got to be very gentle." Wham! Yanks it right out of my hand. Now, somebody's got to be online to show you what not to do, so I figured I'd be that guy that day. Don't do it like Doug just did it.
All right, what else? Any other questions or topics people want to talk about?
Well, Bruce, kind of along the lines of using a tool for not the intended purpose that you bought it for, I guess another route that might be interesting is tools that you bought knowing you were not going to use it for its intended purpose. And one that I have that I use the heck out of, and I showed this in Prescott area Woodturners a long time ago, but It's a filing system that you pick up at Walmart. They're super cheap, but I never intended on putting files in it. I intended on separating my sandpaper with it. And that's exactly what I do. Each file's got its own grit, and it just keeps it in order. I pop it right open, and I can run right through my grits pretty quick.
Clever.
And then for the 2-inch sanding discs, I got one of those little nuts and bolt thing, picked it up at a garage sale and threw my grit numbers on there. And then you just open it up and pull out your disc. And then the one that I love the most. So here you have just your standard little lidded cardboard box from the thrift store. But look at what's in there. Hold on, I gotta use 2 hands. It keeps my tissues clean, so when I want to blow my nose, instead of using up all my expensive blue paper towels.
That's a great idea.
Yep. I don't know if anybody has anything that they know they bought it not for its original use. That might be kind of interesting.
Okay. I like your idea of the box for the Kleenex. That's better than mine where I got to take the air hose to blow the dust off of it before I use the Kleenex.
Yeah. Well, then I got to the point where I was like, oh, my box of tissues are always so dirty. And then I was like, oh, I'll just grab a paper towel. And I was like, those blue paper towels aren't cheap. And I was using more of them on my nose than I was putting finishes on things. So,
Yeah.
What else we got this morning? Not hearing much.
I can show you guys some upgrades I did to my shop if you're interested.
Sure.
Okay, so for those of you, Bruce, you've been to my shop a few times, so
Yep.
This one was already here. This is the Omni wall system where I have all my stuff hung up, but I wound up adding 2 more. So I did this one over here. So these are just kind of my tinkering around tools and stuff. And then if you're on social media a lot, you've probably seen this one advertised. What I did, dropped the money and got that one and put it above my resin station. So that's pretty cool. And then for those of you that have been to my shop, my old air system was this old Harbor Freight hose that I had that went all the way around my shop. Well, you can see it's chopped off over there because I don't have air on this side of my shop anymore because I don't need it. But I finally upgraded to a true air system. Well, one, I upgraded my air compressor. So I've got a nice big one that runs off of 220 now. And then I think it's called the Max Airflow. It's a kit that you can buy. It comes with the hose. It comes in a big coil. And then it comes with your drops. And it's got the valve where you can get the water out of the lines. I added a reel on this side of my shop. So that's the air hose that I'll use for my resin pot or my pressure pot, as well as that one will make it out to the backyard if I got to fill up air or clean out the barbecue, whatever. And then coming down along this side, you can see the blue line up there. And I ran the drop just like I had it before for the lathe. So I've got air to just, clean out the vessels, but then I have the extra pieces here because I have what's called the Centuri system if I want to use the air chuck or vacuum chuck. And then following it down, I kept the reel that I did have with the old system. So filling up car tires and what have you on this side of the shop. But I also, a lot of times I'll have this line over at the lathe And that way, if I want to use my air sander, then I can just connect that. And then I still have the ability to have the compressed air and sand at the same time and not have to keep changing the fitting out. But those were the latest upgrades I did. The next big thing I'm going to save up my pennies for is new bandsaw. Mine just has the 6-inch rise standard Porter cable from Lowe's. But I've got my eyes set on a big Powermatic. So I think by the end of next school year, I'll have enough money saved up to go buy it. That's the goal anyway.
Somebody mentioned Powermatic's got a sale on now. Does that include the bandsaw?
I'm not sure. I was looking at both Woodworker Source and then actually Lowe's, their online products. You can buy Powermatic through them, which I didn't even know until I was trying to remember what I had paid for my bandsaw because I bought that one new from Lowe's. And I just kind of wanted to get a feel for what they were selling for. So when I go to sell it used, have an idea of what I should drop the price to. And that's when I came across their Jets and Powermatic. And I was like, when the heck did Lowe's start selling Jet and Powermatic? But they do, but I guess only online, not through their stores.
You may want to check Craft Supply. I think that's where I heard that they were putting them on sale.
Okay. I know quite a few of you in the club have the bandsaws with the riser blocks, and you can resaw a pretty good size log through there, and I cannot do that.
Yeah, I've got a Grizzly and I've got a 12-inch throat height
Okay.
wise.
Yeah.
And I've liked it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, flat work, this one would work good. It's 14 inches for flat work, but to try and stick to resaw, it's only 6.
Yeah, I'm 16 inches flat and 14 for resaw or 12
Wow.
for resaw.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I looked to see if there was any way to get riser blocks for this Porter cable. There kind of is. I found some different people on YouTube using Jet's riser blocks, but you had to drill out some different holes and get it all lined up. And I was like, you know what? For that much of a headache, I'll save up my money and just buy one.
Okay, anybody have anything else this morning?
I just looked at Craft Supply's website and Powermatic is on sale.
Okay, maybe
Thank
I'll
you, Susan.
maybe I can go convince my wife that we need to buy it now while it's on sale.
Use the line, think of the money you can save if you buy
Right.
it now.
If I could all have you sign a petition for me, Stephanie Rowe.
All righty then. Well, let's wrap this up then for the day. Thank you all for joining and look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you, Bruce.
Bruce.
See you.
Hey,